It's head-to-head time. Today we've got the top of the range Toyota and the top of the range Isuzu. We're going to take them off-road to find their limitations and figure out what mods could get you further. The buyers for these utes are tradies, tourers, and weekend warriors. So which one takes what? Now let's start with some specs and some pricing. Both these utes ride on familiar bones. The HiLux's N80 platform dates back to 2015, so it's a decade-old base, but it has had a lot of facelifts. While the D-Max was all new in 2020, so while both wear fresh kits, one is newer under the skin. The HiLux GR Sport comes in at $73,990 plus ORCs, which puts it at around 77 grand, while the D-Max lands at $76,990 drive away, so they're neck and neck. The GRS and the Blade are both tuned locally, and they're both built for buyers chasing presence and practicality. Now they claim to be more capable than their lower spec siblings. This is the 2.8 litre 1GD by Toyota. Now this has 165 kilowatts and 550 newton meters torque. Now that runs through a 6-speed automatic, part-time 4-drive, so selectable on the dash, and a rear diff that has a locker. This is the 4JJ3 3-litre turbo diesel. Power-wise, it's pretty moderate with 140 kilowatt and torque only 450, so quite down on its competition. But being a slightly bigger displacement engine at 3-litre, it does have good low-down torque and good feel. The D-Max fights back with slightly better payload of 896 kilos versus 780 in the HiLux. That's partly down to its lower curb weight of 2,204 kilos, despite the full Walkinshaw kit. Both tow the magic 3.5 ton braked, but the GCM tells a bigger story. 6,000 kilos for the Blade versus 5,850 for the GR Sport, meaning better headroom if you load it up with gear and a trailer in the Blade. The Blade also scores an edge in GVM. It's only 50 kilos better, but everything helps when you're fitting drawers, accessories, or camping gear. The GR Sport absolutely dominates for power and polish, but the D-Max has its appeal in its simplicity. So if you want a simple, reliable setup, go the Isuzu. You want power and polish, go the HiLux. But all that power, does it really matter off-road? We're going to find out if these things can crawl, climb, and recover themselves in the mud. The GR Sport sits at the top of the HiLux range and gets the hardware to match. KYB monotube shocks, disc brakes all around, a wider track, and a local suspension tune aimed at better off-road control. All I've done is put it in low range. I haven't locked the rear diff. It actually doesn't have a lot of modes to put it in. There is a hill descent control if I wanted to use it. Once you're in low range, traction control's off, and then it's really all up to you, which is kind of the appeal of the HiLux, right? Is that it's simple. Trying to just unsettle the car and trying to get it so that I've got 2 wheels in the air to see if I can challenge traction. But it just has so much flex. I'm actually struggling to get it to do that because I haven't locked the rear diff. Just nothing's hard for this HiLux. Still on hydraulic power steering. Not saying it's a bad thing, but if you're used to electric steering, you'll pick up that the HiLux is just a little bit heavier to steer. So this is one of the bigger challenges for it here. Yep, still just does it with ease. You might be picking up a little bit of a squeak in the mic. What that is the bushings under the HiLux. Now these cars are known for that. It's nothing to worry about, but they do go through bushes a bit quicker than other cars. And I think part of the magic behind their off-road ability is the fact that the bushes are a bit softer and just lets the suspension work just a little bit harder. All right, last hard climb for the HiLux. So there I thought I would eventually get stuck in the locker, but all I had to do was just adjust my steering angle a little bit, roll on and off the throttle, let the tyres bite, and they did their job. It's refreshing being in a HiLux and just remembering how good these are off-road. Now the Blade is also top tier for Isuzu, sharing its basic suspension layout with the LSU and X-Train. Independent front, leaf rear, and Walkinshaw developed tune. Now it still runs drum brakes in the rear, but it gets a wider stance from offset wheels and it has Munro shocks. So, off-road with the Blade. At the moment, I have it in low range only. Don't have the diff locked, I don't have rough terrain mode on. Bit of a cross for the axles. Yeah, we're lifting, we're dropping, and we've got heaps of grip. The D-Max is a much newer platform. This is a 2020 chassis or model, I suppose. This has electric steering, which is super lightweight and really good off-road when you're doing tight turning stuff. There we go, we finally found a need for something. Now that's the first time I came to a stop in the D-Max. The HiLux spun tyres up here, still made it without a diff lock. Let's see if the D-Max does. Oh, that's telling. It is a lot earlier. Wow. With no modes on, no diff lock, the D-Max didn't even really make it to the start of this obstacle. The HiLux made it through. Wow, okay. I'm gonna put rough terrain mode on, and you're gonna laugh your socks off at how much easier this goes, because that wasn't even an obstacle. Right, we're spinning tyres more than I thought we would. More than we did the first time we went up there. But that was the difference, right? Put it in rough terrain mode, and I literally just pointed the car where I wanted, gently applied the accelerator, just drove through. Oh, side steps. I'm pleased I made a steal. I felt we were not at the limit of either ute, so I pointed the D-Max at a long, steep drop that I wanted to climb. Now, I didn't use hill descent control here, I just left it in low range and slid my way down. Coming back up, all I had on was rough terrain mode in low range, and the D-Max, well, it did the climb in one attempt. I was super impressed. Back in the HiLux. So the Blade just did a really good job of what is probably a climb that we shouldn't have done, but we are trying to find the limits, right? I'm going to do the exact same drive in the HiLux. Now the difference with the HiLux is it doesn't have the fancy computer controlled traction systems. First is this gnarly downhill, which is really narrow. I'm going to try it without the diff lock. I'm going to put the diff lock in if I need it as I go up the bank. Alright, we came to a stop, diff lock's in. Oh, we bellied. Right, let's come up a bit harder. Right. See if we can get up there, hold a bit more momentum. Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, we found the limit, and it is at the absolute top. We are 1 meter from making it over. And now I think I have to back it out. All right, we're doing a third. Alright, we made it, but that's it. That's the limit. Moral of the story though, the D-Max with rough terrain mode got up here first time and didn't belly as much as the HiLux, which is surprising because the HiLux has, on paper, a bit of ground clearance. Now both utes were tuned in Australia for Australian tracks, and it shows. They come standard with all-terrain tyres. GR Sport runs 17-inch Bridgestone Jewelers, and the Blade runs on 18-inch Goodyear Wranglers. Now each gets real steel side steps, front recovery points, underbody protection, clearance is solid, but the HiLux has the edge. It rides higher with a better departure angle. Now the D-Max sacrifices some ramp over and departure thanks to a longer tub. Still, both are rated to weight 800 mils, which is strong for showroom stock utes. So the HiLux, This thing blew me away for how simple it is. There are no nannies, there are no special traction control systems. It went almost as far, if not further, than the D-Max most of the time. Now, I drove this with just low range, which means just the center diff locked. I had to put the locker in once for one of the last climbs. Now, we left this at road pressures because, in fairness, that's what most people are going to do, and it was seriously capable. Now, the D-Max. Now, same scenario, because this is a head-to-head, we left the tyres at street pressure, so the placard pressure. This vehicle, with just low range engaged, so just the centre diff lock, surprisingly not capable. It actually got stuck quite easy. But you press that one magic button, the rough terrain mode, and it was almost unstoppable. From the showroom floor, the D-Max blade is way more capable than most people would ever need if you use the rough terrain button. Actually, both these vehicles are very capable straight off the showroom floor. Now, how far would you go? I think both of them are ready for almost anything in Australia. The limitations are going to be the type of terrain you want to drive for clearance, or perhaps fuel capacity. So, fuel consumption and range. Officially, both utes claim around 8 litres per 100, but in the real world, the D-Max gets closer, often in the 8s, while the HiLux tends to creep into the 9s. Start towing a full-size van and you can expect consumption to jump by about 60%, which drops your range to roughly 500 k's for the tank with either ute. Now, they both feel pretty composed on the open road. They both feel like they could do with a bit of weight in them to settle them down a little bit, but that's typical of a ute. Both utes pack safety gear you'd expect: AEB, lane assist, adaptive cruise control, and high ANCAP scores. Now, the D-Max was tested in 2022 under stricter conditions, while the GR Sport wears an ANCAP rating from 2019. So on paper, yes, the D-Max is probably safer. Inside, the front seats are heated and power adjustable for the driver in both. But the D-Max pulls ahead on screens and sound. It's got a sharper digital display, a bigger 9-inch touchscreen, and more modern look. The GR Sport's cabin looks premium at first glance, but it's starting to show its age. The dash layout feels a bit cluttered, speaker pods look like an afterthought, and the ergonomics let it down a bit. Tall drivers will struggle to find a comfortable seating position. Still, the cloth seats are a standout, offering excellent comfort and breathability. The GR Sport claws back with a 360-degree camera and front parking sensors, things the D-Max still sadly misses out on. But the D-Max gets some back with a great tyre pressure monitoring system. The HiLux just flashes a warning light, while the D-Max shows you live pressure and live tyre temperature. A real advantage for towing and off-road. Right, so building the ultimate tradie or tourer or towing rig isn't just about what you can stick on it, it's also about the cost of ownership and reliability. Toyota backs its HiLux with a 5-year unlimited kilometre coverage. Now, that's ideal if you're racking up big Ks. Now, Isuzu counters that with a 6-year or 150,000 K warranty, and it throws in 7 years of capped price servicing. Now, if you stick to the schedule, Toyota wants to see you every 6 months over 5 years, and that'll cost you about $3,350. Isuzu, though, spaces its services to 12-month intervals and a 5-year total of just $2,250. So it's cheaper, with half as many dealer visits. If you're chasing low-fuss, low-cost ownership, the D-Max wins that battle hands down. So reliability, there are some known issues, or at least there were, with the 1GD 2.8 in the HiLux. It had some DPF issues and some injector issues, but Toyota moves over 50,000 HiLuxes a year, so naturally a few end up in a shop, because nothing is perfect after all. D-Max, they're selling 30,000 a year now, but you don't hear as many complaints about them. They do have an issue with the upper control arms and some bump steer, which is fixable. Right, well, this is a shootout, so there has to be a winner, but it is a best out of 3 because the buyers for these utes are tradies, tourers, and weekend warriors. So which one takes what? Well, weekend warrior. I reckon it's the HiLux. Now, it needs a set of tyres, in my opinion, maybe a bit taller as well, just to go a little bit further off-road, but the fact that that is so capable out of the box, without any nannies, there's a win right there. Tourers. The D-Max has a slightly higher GCM, slightly higher GVM, and longer service intervals, which for me, give that one the win. And then tradies, well, it's gonna be a bit of a tie. Well, no, it's not gonna be a tie, but it is bloody close. Tradies are gonna love a HiLux for its resale. They're gonna love a HiLux for how easy it is to service and get parts for. But I'd counter that it's getting easier, and it's already easy enough to get parts for a D-Max. Tradies also gonna want payload. They're gonna want long service intervals. So for me, if you're a tradie, the pick is the D-Max, which means the blade comes out 2-1, the winner of this comparo. Now, I can hear a few of you already yelling, how is a HiLux going to lose a Compero? So tell us in the comments what we've missed, if there's anything you would have liked to see us cover or other cars you'd like us to test.